a.m., and I invite you to listen to The Morning Watch with Stokeley Marshall.
Listeners to Love 101 FM are advised that the views and opinions expressed in this program are not necessarily those of Love 101 FM.
Hello and welcome to the Morning Watch on Love 101 FM. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. A special welcome to our listeners on love101.org. And if you are overseas and on the move, US listeners can access us at 712-832-8001. And if you are in the UK, 0330-332-6541. Or join us via the Love 101 FM app that can be downloaded from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. You can also join us on Love 101 FM Facebook and YouTube Live. In the first watch today, licensing coming to learning, examining some concerns about the Jamaica Teaching Council Bill. Well, perhaps now an act of parliament. And in second watch, Haiti. Why is the situation worsening? Part 2. For our social media question, we ask, how will the Jamaica Teaching Council Bill impact the education system? Share your responses on our Love 101 Facebook page and YouTube channel, and also on WhatsApp 876-9973125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll share your response later on the program, but first is I quote.
All right, today's I quote says, "The only way to learn from life is for life to teach you lessons."
Unknown author, right?
Mm-hmm.
The only way to learn from life is for life to teach you lessons. Good morning, Chicago.
Good morning.
The first watch will be back after this break.
Love 101 invites you to listen to Leading the Way with Dr. Michael Youssef.
God's blessing of salvation is not only to forgive you all of your sins here and now, but to keep you safe for all of eternity.
Dr. Michael Youssef.
God's blessings for your salvation will keep you protected, and it's going to keep you protected even from your own foolish decisions. He will keep you protected even if you are prone to wander away from Him. Will keep you protected from your ingratitude to His grace and blessing. He will keep you protected from being preoccupied with His blessings and ignoring Him. Even when you're focusing on the wrong things, His security for you is indisputable.
Want to learn more about this subject? Listen to Leading the Way with Dr. Michael Youssef on this station.
That's Leading the Way with Dr. Michael Youssef, Sunday to Thursday at 7:30 to 8 p.m. on the family station, Love 101.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. The over 2 decades long wait it would appear to be over. Would appear so. The legislation for the Jamaica Teaching Council Bill proposes the introduction of provisions that differentiate between registered teachers, licensed teachers, and authorized instructors. Among other things, it will introduce a fit and proper requirement, including criminal background checks to teach. Its objectives are said to include to establish the Jamaica Teaching Council as a statutory body, to regulate the entry, conduct, and professional development of teachers, maintain registers of teachers, role of instructors, and enforce standards of teacher competence and ethics, and promote teaching as a respected professional and accountable discipline aligned with Jamaica's education transformation agenda. Well, I thought the teaching profession was already highly respected. I didn't know that we needed to add that to the mix. But there are concerns, and I will add quickly too that if one takes a look at the website of the Ministry of Education, Skills, Youth and Information, it reads, among other things, Senate passes Jamaica Teaching Council Act 2025. So the Senate has passed it with 38 amendments. Our guest this morning to discuss this hotly contested piece of legislation, Dr. Mark Smith, President of the Jamaica Teachers Association, and Trudy Lee Panton, founder, Jamaica Life Learners. Trudy Lee Panton, Dr. Mark Smith, good morning. Trudy Lee Panton.
Good morning. How are you?
Dr. Smith, good morning, sir. Trudy Lee Panton, do we have you on? Are you muted?
Good morning.
Well, we have you on so far, it would appear, Dr. Smith. I don't know what the challenge might be with Trudy Lee Panton. We hope to have her on shortly. Now, how will this work, Dr. Smith, in the interim while we await the arrival or hearing Trudy Lee Panton? How will this work generally, and will it apply in every sphere or instance where there's teaching taking place, such as in home schools? And what of... well, there's a section here I'm seeing where a parent who does not comply with the requirements specified under subsection 3 shall be subject to a school attendance order under section 22 of the Education Act. Mark, that was under the bill. Maybe you can indicate whether that is in the current act. I was trying my best to obtain the most recent copy of the document, but unfortunately we don't have it at this time. And also, we sometimes forget that there are other places where teaching takes place, such as in Sunday school and Sabbath school. As ridiculous as that question may sound, does it go that far, Dr. Smith?
Good morning once again to you and your guest. I must start off by saying that the bill cannot be passed, I believe, or really should not go into law in its current state. You know, the JTA has tried over the last 2 decades to advocate really profusely, ensure that we have been really speaking about what are some of the significant deficits of this bill. And unfortunately, many of them have fallen on deaf ears. In fact, in our last submission, the first submission, we started with Paul Adams, and the last submission was in 2022 under Winston Smith, President Winston Smith, who made a presentation to the Joint Select Committee of Parliament. And so when we talk about how long the gestation period of a bill, I am far less interested in that and more interested in the level of engagement, taking into account the views of those that were called in as stakeholders. The JTA, of course, representing the overwhelming majority of teachers, close to 20,000 members of the 24,000 plus teachers in the system. And so it really defies logic to understand that while consultations were had, and I'll give you that, we were engaged in the process of consulting with them, right? So one can't say consultations were not facilitated. But there's a distinct difference between having consultations and then actually taking the information that was shared during those consultations by the stakeholders group that you indicated that were so important, and the extent to which those recommendations that were made by the respective group actually made it into the final document, right? And so this is part of the significant challenge that we have around it. And you jokingly said you don't know if this is would apply to Sabbath school. Yeah. Fortunately, when I did a lot of engagement, a lot of consultation, speaking both with lawyers as well as the head of the JTC for further clarification, the Minister of Education, I was advised that as long as money is not being traded, because I had a concern, there's a section which speaks to the fact that, what if you're criminalizing individuals who, I am a retired teacher and I am next door, and I see the youngster next door can't read, and I'm the neighbor and I want to help out. And I am told This is, and we went through the act as we're going through it with our lawyers, and when we get these responses, we go back to the lawyers to try and seek further clarification. I'm told that as long as money is not traded, then the person does not need to seek an authorization. So even a retired teacher with 48 years of service to the system, that individual could find themselves in a courtroom if they were to charge $1, $2 to have a child come over and use their tablet, and they'd help to teach them how to read. That could actually be classified as a breach of the existing bill. And that is dangerous. Yeah.
But Dr. Smith,
That person would have to seek a 2-year authorization to teach under the existing regulation,
as long as money is not
under the new regulation that is being proposed.
Yes, you mentioned as long as money is not being traded, and I should declare interest. My mother homeschooled me up to age 5 or 6. And when I got to regular school, quote unquote, I was light years ahead of most other students in the class.
I don't think you should be boasting, sir, about homeschooling. That is usually for the elite, you know.
Whatever you want to call it.
I'm troubling you.
So she did a really fantastic job. Give her credit. So the draft that I saw, maybe you can indicate to me, and what's wrong with being elite, Dr. Smith? But that's a different question. Sorry about that.
As we yanking each other's legs on this. Go ahead.
Okay, sir. So if a parent is homeschooling their child, and you have a lot of homeschools across Jamaica, dotted all across the place, why would that parent need to have some kind of registration, license, as the case may be, whatever the terminology is, to homeschool their own child at home? Is that in the act itself?
In the final one, I believe there were some changes to that. But again, our focus has not been so much on homeschooling, so I don't want to speak. But I that matter was raised to a less extent, and I believe that there were amendments to that aspect.
You're not sure. You're not
child,
sure
right? So I'm not too afraid with that, as that doesn't necessarily is not my constituent. But I believe it will be basically touched on it, and I was advised by the lawyers that there has been some change to that, but I stand to be corrected regarding that. If it's your own child, then I think there's a little more flexibility.
I see. And so what are some of the other problems or challenges that you're having? If you could enumerate them, maybe like a list.
All right, well, it is quite lengthy because we have put forward several recommendations, and we found that it was almost a sense of tokenism. So we had some consistent issues over the many years regarding the composition of the council. And we realized that when you look at almost every single other professional body, it is governed and administered by the professionals. Now, when we look at, let me take, for instance,
in other words, you don't want the teachers alone to be the ones who are governing this area?
Freedom, even if, because what people say is, oh, but we have a lot of stakeholders, all right? So we say, all right, that is understood, but we should have at least control over the quorum, right? So you should have enough teachers where you can control the quorum. So we're just short of being able to, we have 6 standing members on it, and the quorum, I believe, is 7. And so the result of that, they could go ahead and have meetings without the representative body for the teachers. Oh, that seems a bit absurd.
Dr. Smith?
Are you hearing me?
Hold that thought for a second while we resolve these technical issues. But in any event, we are upon a break. Listeners, please stay with us. Very important conversation this morning. We'll be right back on the Morning Watch.
Jamaica and its workforce are advancing quickly. Life-changing opportunities are arising. You need training and support. We are the Renewed Heart NSTA Trust, committed to providing new and emerging skills training and opportunities. Come to Heart. We'll help you claim your place in the workforce of the future.
Febreze. Imagine getting home after a long day and it smells so amazing that it makes you smile. Try Febreze Plugs, an air freshener that delivers continuous scent for up to 50 days when you plug it in low mode. Indulge in wonderful scents for weeks with Febreze.
Mama work hard, for real. She do the most to send me and my brother go school. So, the dream was always to go to university. Well, I fulfilled 2 dreams with 1 Jane Bank savings plan, you know. I further my education and I make mama proud.
See so you can make the part, travel far, graduate like a star.
Stop wishing you could. With your Jane Bank savings, you absolutely can. Jane Bank will help you find a way.
Receive words of strength from the Voice of Power with Bishop Dr. Delford Davis.
The battle of seed has been declared many years ago and is still raging. I will put enmity between thee and between the woman, thy seed and her seed. A war will be on perpetually until Jesus returns. But I know who has already won the war. I know who has already won the war.
That's the Voice of Power with Bishop Dr. Delford Davis, brought to you by the Power of Faith Ministries International in Portmore. Voice of Power comes to you every Thursday at 9:30 a.m. right here on the family station, Love 101.
Speak, my Lord. Speak, my Lord. Speak, and I will answer, Lord, send me.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We are in the first watch, and the topic is licensing coming to learning, examining some concerns about the Jamaica Teaching Council bill, well, now an act. We have as our guest Dr. Mark Smith, President of Jamaica Teachers Association, and Trudy Lee Panton, founder, Jamaica Life Learners. Dr. Smith, you're making a point just before the break. Would you like to continue, sir? And if you could also, in doing that, just remind the listeners or tell the listeners who this act will apply to. And does it extend? Is it only for, schools up to the high school level? If you could give some context as well, sir.
Well, thanks again. The truth is, this is a very broad-based bill that will have significant impact on anyone that attempts to engage in the process of teaching. And so if you're a tutor, it will impact you. If you are a teacher within the existing primary, early childhood, primary, secondary, tertiary level, and in dialogue with our advisors when going through the bill, we realized that aspect of tertiary, because initially a lot of people thought tertiary was exempt, but tertiary is actually included when we sought clarification. It is, however, limited to those within teacher training. So at the University of Technology, for instance, their teacher training school of education, that is, they would be required to be licensed to operate for a period of 5 years. But we have some significant concerns regarding this. One of the ones that leaps out to me is the 5th schedule, which speaks to the fitness to teach. And provisions within that, I think, in section 1, subsection 1, clearly outlines that an individual that has a criminal record, a check will be done, and including the offense could have happened in the past, the individual could have served the time on that. That could be seen as a disqualifier for the individual. So in your youth, you could have smoked marijuana, for instance. One could see where that could be used against you. Could be used, done something else. We have had many individuals that made mistakes in their youth, and yet they would have been disqualified from being a teacher. We also have the section 1, subsection 1A, B, and section 1 of B, which does not, an individual does not meet the prescribed standards, and it just left like that. What are these prescribed standards? That is too vague. And so this is clear. We're talking about law here. And one has to ensure there's a greater degree of specificity with which we treat with these things, because this is going to impact the bread and butter of educators up and down the organization. The other issue we think about, in an era in which we have 44 million educators, we're short 44 million educators globally. All right. You are telling me, with many fleeing our shores, is this the best timing to introduce something like this? It seems not to be rather logical. What we need to do is to ensure that we're making teaching more attractive. And while I do agree, and in principle, let me just clearly say that the JTA is not against a licensing program as we have discussed it, because we have been in support of improving the bill. But what we're saying is, I think the approach needs to change. I put forward to both the minister and the JTC CEO, Dr. Winsome Gordon, that we should have taken a more conciliatory approach to this, trying to ensure that the bill that comes in is not as aggressive. And over time, you can put in strength in the structures, because this is something new to our system. So I would go against less resistance rather than a greater level of resistance. And so when we look at the fines, for instance, that are associated, if you look at I went and took the opportunity to look at the Nurses and Midwifery Act. And in that particular act, the structure they have is that there is a tiered system. In their first offense, right? That's 59, in their first offense, that is $200,000. In their second offense, $400,000 as a nurse that is operating without a license. And then I think it goes up to $1 million. With teachers, it's $1.5 million, one go. But yet teachers are paid at a lower rate than their comparative colleagues as nurses. And so how do we drive that in terms of the equity, the fairness of that? There is also the concern we have regarding just natural justice. So we spoke to our lawyers, one of them a constitutional lawyer, just looking at us and saying, but this just does not make sense in terms of the process of natural justice and how we have practiced it. This is for many, many years as a country under our constitution since independence. And so section 50, subsection 1A, lacking the ability for a teacher to be accused by the person who is accusing you. You should be able to face your accuser. That is one of the basic tenets that is entrenched in our constitution. And so these are things that we think, how could our politicians, despite many, the JTA has been agitating. We have the documentation to prove. We have put together, compiled, bound in a document, submitted on multiple occasions to the Ministry of Education. These concerns, but you're not even thinking about that. I go back to the point about the 44 million teachers that we are short globally. And the pressure it is putting on our teachers. If you talk to a lot of our principals, they will tell you that we're having issues finding teachers. So sometimes you have to take a youngster who just left and he has 8 subjects and he has a physics at 1, and you carry him back and he becomes a physics teacher. No, I am advised when we went in, because again, consultation. I'm a person, I believe, I don't just jump out and talk about things. We do our due diligence. We sit with laws. We sit with technocrats, and we work through, we do our queries to ensure that when we speak from an informed position. We're advised that that individual will then have to apply for an authorization to teach. But now I can tell you something. You are going to find that there are a lot of individuals who are teaching. There's a person quickly said to me that, Mr. Smith, but all they have to do is get the authorization to teach for 2 years. The person may not want to pay the money. The person may not want to go through the process of doing that. So this is a bit complicated. So it adds another bureaucratic layer, something that we seem to love, bureaucracy.
A barrier.
Adds another bureaucratic layer to engaging a teacher, an issue we already have and struggle with as principals in an era when you don't have enough teachers in the classroom. But it goes further, my brother. If you have a teacher that is licensed to teach mathematics, for instance, and I have a physics teacher that is out, and in a normal circumstance, the principal, I can just take my mathematics teacher and say, well, you had passed physics at Cape, right? I'm going to ask you to go and deliver physics. I know by asking that teacher, we'll be asking him to break the law.
Yes.
And so we have to be careful about this, because there will not be operational implications within a context where you have a teacher shortage.
Because
and I could go on and on.
The minimum qualifications generally in the main is a bachelor's degree, sir?
Yes, right now. Yeah. So what is advocated by the bill? And again, the bill in theory seeks to professionalize the teaching service, which would bring it in line with the standards that exist globally. So we are not against in principle, but we're saying we have to take into account the nuances of the Jamaican context with
Just,
the
to- just,
education.
just to assist the listener. So, in the main, the minimum qualifications, a bachelor's degree. I got that from a previous draft of the legislation,
Right.
and so if it is that you don't have that minimum qualification, you would need to seek an authorization. Is that what it?
An
That's
authorization to teach, and that has a 2 year period in terms of its value
the authorization, if granted, lasts for 2 years.
for 2 years.
I see. So, what about, for instance, some of these kindergartens, basic schools, whatever name they go by? So, if the teacher doesn't have that bachelor's degree, they can.
Authorization to teach. That is, well, many of those persons may have hard qualifications, and so that would not be equivalent to a degree, and so those individuals would then be required to have an authorization to teach. So they
And
would have to.
isn't it true that many of these teachers do not have a bachelor's degree?
Well, that is true. What we need to understand, and oftentimes people misunderstand.
It doesn't mean that they can't teach. This,
Right. It doesn't mean that they can't teach, and one would have to. That's why we have the Early Child Commission to assess the quality of teaching at that level. The truth is, the vast majority of our early childhood sector is administered by private entities, so they're not government operated.
Would it cover a daycare? Would it cover a daycare, or that they're
Once they're doing any form of teaching, yes, and so depending on what you have, some daycare which is more just holding the child and sleeping, that's different. But if you're going to engage in teaching the individual something, then it changes the context. But I should add to this conversation the whole notion that when you look in the high schools, for instance, many of the individuals, or some, I shouldn't say many, but some of the individuals who are in our technical areas, because our technical teachers really want to stay, an auto teacher can earn significantly more opening a shop outside than he will teaching automotive. And we're finding that as a critical issue. We band about, talking of, tossing the word around, STEM education, we're pushing forward with STEM. But the reality is, we are not making the profession by a way of remuneration. We get every pushback against remuneration for teachers. We get every pushback against improving allowances and things of that nature, and the general working conditions of teachers. We get pushback, and those are the things that would make the profession more attractive to people. And so on one hand, we're being paid in many instances below our similar colleagues when we have similar certification. And then you are putting on these additional restrictions, these additional challenges. As I said, in theory,
we're pretty loud and clear on that, Dr. Smith, but we're almost completely out of time. Truly, Panton, are you hearing us now? Can we hear you now? Are you with us? Are you back with us? Truly, Panton?
I hope so.
We are hearing you loud and clear. We literally have seconds left. Do you have anything you would like to add in the very limited time we have left? And where do we go from here? Because the Senate has already passed it.
Yes, morning to you both. I mean, Dr. Smith did an awesome job in covering many of the issues that concern even the homeschool community. Generally speaking, we're comfortable with the principle of such a bill, and we were actually we are excited to be added to the committee in terms to be able to give our our perspective.
How will homeschools be impacted through the LEAP, Panton? In a couple of months?
Well, we were generally excluded from the bill in the very basic structure of homeschooling. So it will be restrictive within the community as well, because you have cases where groups of families come together to teach together. There will be restrictions in the sense that I won't be able to teach my cousin, or I won't be able, if I have a what we call a homeschool pod, where 3 families come together to teach our children together based on the expertise that the parents have. We won't be able to administer lessons to each other's children. We are definitely.
You can teach your own child without needing a license.
Correct.
Thank God for that. At least.
Yes.
Important.
Yes, my blood pressure went down.
Yes.
I'm speaking figuratively here. I think we're getting a signal to wrap. Dr. Smith, anything you're looking forward going, in the next couple of days, weeks, because it's already passed by the Senate?
Well, to this point, we are asking that it goes to the lower house and the MPs will have to weigh in on the bill. And I'm asking that good sense will prevail. We believe in the principle of what this bill is attempting to do. But however, we
Have to
believe that the
leave it.
operationalization of how they attempt to do this is
Have
flawed.
to
We have put forward the solutions.
have to
We
leave
ask
it
them to take it
there.
into account.
Have to leave it there, Dr. Smith. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
both of you, for your time and for your thoughts. Truly, Lee Panton. So sorry that we didn't get to hear you properly until the last couple of minutes or seconds. Thank you both of you for your time and for your thoughts. Listeners, please stay with us. We'll be right back on the Morning Watch.
Open a deposit account in the JN Bank Savings Streams promotion and save monthly for a chance to win an all expenses paid trip to Peru. Enter now. The time by JN Bank Savings Streams promotion is
7:31.
Febreze. Imagine getting home after a long day and it smells so amazing that it makes you smile. Try Febreze Plugs, an air freshener that delivers continuous scent for up to 50 days when you plug it in low mode. Indulge in wonderful scents for weeks with Febreze.
Whole dog! Not a dog, not there for whole. The workman them do a good job with the house though. I can't complain. I just look a little smalls now for wire it. Go talk to C&WJ Credit Union. Them have a house wiring loan of up to $150,000 for wire your house. So you can get power from JPS.
That's right. Get up to $150,000 and 3 years to repay with a C&WJ Credit Union house wiring loan. C&WJ Credit Union. Discover the benefits of belonging.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. Is taking a look now at the newspapers to see what Jamaicans and others are saying and doing. And we have here in Loop, Jamaica News. Caribbean nations face critical health worker shortages. New PAHO report reveals. And we have here in The Observer, 50 years for capital punishment. Chuck pilots stiffer sentencing guidelines through lower house. It goes on to read, people found guilty of capital murder in Jamaica will soon have to serve a mandatory minimum of 50 years behind bars before being eligible for parole. And we turn to the Gleaner. Principal's body warns slow down on JTC bill. Jamaica Teaching Council bill, of course, now an act passed by the Senate. In the first watch, we actually did a topic very relevant to the issue. That topic was licensing coming to learning, examining some concerns about the Jamaica Teaching Council bill. Of course, coming up next, we will read for some of the feedback from our Facebook, YouTube, and WhatsApp question, which is, how will the Jamaica Teaching Council bill now an act impact the education system? If you haven't done so, leave your response in our Facebook or YouTube. Love 101 FM Jamaica Live, and also WhatsApp comments and voice notes to 876-997-3125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll be right back.
It's almost here, an evening of worship this Thursday, May 1, at the Welcome Park New Testament Church of God, 65 Welcome Park Road, hosted by Pastor Donnie McClurkin. The Pastors and Church Leaders Forum in the banquet hall at 5 p.m. with presenters Pastor Donnie McClurkin, Reverend Dr. Rowan Ambersley from the New Testament Church of God, Sterling Castle Heights, and Pastor Dwight Fletcher from the Transformed Life Church, TLC. Then the doors open for all for the evening of worship with presentations from Nadine Blair, Audience of One, the Welcome Park New Testament Church of God Praise Team, and Pastor Donnie McClurkin. This Thursday, May 1, at the Welcome Park New Testament Church of God, 65 Welcome Park Road, hosted by Pastor Donnie McClurkin. Don't you miss it.
welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. Now for your responses to our social media question, which is how will the Jamaica Teaching Council bill, now an act passed by the Senate, impact the education system? Chikal.
All right, so we do have a response here from Cherry in Spanish Town. Cherry says, "Good morning. Growing up, I always heard that teaching is the greatest profession. I believe teachers should be licensed, and this should be no problem as this is done globally. The JTA needs to lobby for their teachers to make the bill more attractive to the profession that is already short of teachers, and those at the top need to listen as there are many concerns."
You know, I didn't say this during the segment, but I don't think they need to be licensed. I'll leave it right there. That's my view. Well, yesterday in the show, moving right into the second watch, yesterday on the program, on the morning watch, we asked the question, with all the help that the world is supposed to be providing, why is the situation in Haiti escalating? And of course, you can watch that discussion. You can watch that discussion on Love 101 FM, YouTube, or Facebook. And we're back today to continue this very important discussion as we try to extract more details about the truth of what's happening to Haiti and in Haiti. Our guests who have returned today, and we thank them for returning today at such short notice. Frederic Boirond, sociologist, social analyst, author, and based in Canada, and Dr. Giulio Volsi, President and Chief Executive Officer, Haiti Teen Challenge, Senior Pastor, Rendezvous Christchurch, Haiti, author and active member of civil society. Gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you very much for the invitation once again.
Our pleasure, sir.
Good morning. It's good to be with you again this morning.
And good to see you alive and well, Dr. Volsi. Great
Thank
seeing
you.
you, sir. Great seeing you. Alive and well and seemingly in good spirits. Now, jumping right into it, never enough time on the morning watch. How are the gangs in Haiti able to take control or such control of the city? And how sophisticated are they? I don't know which of you would like to take that one. Perhaps Dr. Volsi, would you like to try your hand at that question?
For me, is I believe that again there's a vacuum of leadership that exists in the country, and the gangs they have a plan to pretty much take over, and they stick to their plans, and they're getting results. And I believe that our government leaders they have no plan to stop the gangs because their plan is to do politics as usual. It's mostly a personal gain for them. So as a result, last year, I think we were about 70 some percent, and today we more than 95% of the capital are under gangs control. So the gangs are women. They've been very intentional about their plan to pretty much take over the entire capital.
Frederic Warren, your contribution on that point.
First, I'd like to thank you for keeping an open eye on what's happening in Haiti, for the solidarity that you expressing the solidarity of the Jamaican people to Haiti, and that's very important for the country, for us also in the diaspora. And that being said, I think we have to keep in mind that only Asians can help Haiti come out of this struggle. And the only persons who are responsible for what's happening in Haiti right now are Asians. Mostly the political class of most of the people in that political class are men, Asian men, old men who have not been able to come up with an Asian solution. What we're seeing now is a solution that was suggested or imposed by the international community, mostly by the CARICOM, who put together a bunch of political enemies, a bunch of people with no vision. And And what we're seeing in Haiti is the result of the fact that this group of Asian leaders are not, they don't have a vision, they are not able to bring the country to another place. And those gangs, they know that. And that's why they're taking over. They're really taking over. I'd like to go with you through some numbers that just came out. They came out yesterday. And that will tell you a lot about what's happening in Haiti.
Yes, sir.
From
Go ahead.
January,
Go ahead.
are we okay?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. From January to March 2025, 1,600 people were killed in Haiti, 35% by the gangs, 56% by the police, and 9%. And that number is very important because this is the first time that it's coming out. 9% of the people that were killed in Haiti were gang members killed by the population. That means when I said that was what was happening in Haiti was a civil war, some academics told me it's not a civil war until the population itself get involved. This is exactly where we are right
That is
now.
the evidence. That is the evidence that it is becoming or is already a civil war.
There you go.
Yeah.
We needed that number to confirm that.
I see. That is chilling, Frederic Boiron. Very chilling. And what's happening in other parts of the country? What's happening, Dr. Volsi? Other parts of the country apart from the capital?
So some places seem still, I would say a bit more functional. For example, Cap Haitian now, it's become the center of the country because it's the only place that receive international flights. But however, people are worried because there's not much movement between the capital and the other parts of the country. And we also understand that the gangs are marching because they're not just stop here in Port-au-Prince. They are now in Bimbalé, they're in Sodo, and there have been conversations about Hesh and Pignon. The only open, I would say, airport in the country for international flights, which really with limited flights. So the gangs are marching toward that as well. So if nothing take place, I would say in the next weeks or months, even that even that airport, the Cap Haitian airport, might be in trouble. So I really like the discussion that Professor Brown just actually gave us. This is the outcome of a group of young men who actually been very intentional about their plan, and then also with a group of politicians who are not concerned about the well-being of the nation, when really our responsibility as Asian, we need to be the one to fix this problem because we created that, or we have been part of the creation of the challenge. One last thing that I want to say on that is most politicians, whenever they meet with people from the international community, they are asking for machine guns and helicopters and give me more resources. Well, I'm a prime believer who believe that in order for you to be trusted with bigger things, you have to be faithful with small things. And we now have politicians who've been given the opportunity to lead the country. What we need now, we need to see that they're willing to lead the country. And Haiti as a nation has not been led. It's unfortunate. And I think I was in that radio station probably a year ago that I vowed for this 9 members because I didn't really know the political process. I didn't know they were all enemies because I was part of the conversation.
Dr.
Okay.
Volsi, only because of time, I'm going to ask to hold that thought for a minute because we are upon a break. Listeners, please stay with us. We'll be right back in the morning watch.
Don't let freshness ditch you when you need it the most. Wash your clothes with Downy Softener to keep dazzling everyone around you from day to night. Try Downy Softener now.
Hail Jesus,
It's almost here. An evening of worship this Thursday, May 1 at the Waltham Park New Testament Church of God, 65 Waltham Park Road, hosted by Pastor Donnie McClurkin. The Pastors and Church Leaders Forum in the banquet hall at 5 p.m. with presenters Pastor Donnie McClurkin, Reverend Dr. Rowan Ambersley from the New Testament Church of God, Sterling Castle Heights, and Pastor Dwight Fletcher from the Transformed Life Church, TLC. Then the doors open for all for the evening of worship with presentations from Nadine Blair, Audience of One, the Welcome Park New Testament Church of God Praise Team, and Pastor Donnie McClurkin. This Thursday, May 1 at the Welcome Park New Testament Church of God, 65 Welcome Park Road, hosted by Pastor Donnie McClurkin. Don't you miss it.
Unsecured loans. We touched on secured loans, now let's take a look at unsecured. Unsecured loans do not require the borrower to provide any collateral to get the loan. In the unsecured loan, the lender assumes more risk. Due to the risk, an unsecured loan generally carries a higher interest rate.
This financial literacy tip was brought to you by Bank of Jamaica, building an inclusive economy.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We are in the second watch, and the topic is Haiti. Why is the situation worsening? Part 2. Our guests who have returned are Frederic Boiron and Dr. Julio Volsi. Dr. Volsi, just before the break, you're making a point. We'd like to continue that thought. There are a couple of other things I want to raise, but continue your thought, please, sir.
Okay, I was saying that since I've been part of the conversation now for years, since 1990, since 2018, and when this group of nine, actually the group of nine was not formed by the CARICOM. CARICOM support the idea because every one of them want to be in power. Because I was part of the conversation. But however, I thought that was going to be a breakthrough for the country because finally, all the political parties, the private sector, and a member from civil society was willing to work together for the betterments of the country. But I didn't know that they were all enemies, like Frederick said. I was a bit naive of that. But however, even if they were enemies, I thought Haiti would be their priority. The betterment of the country, the betterment of the people. Because as a leader myself, I have more authority when I lead my people well. Because when a leader wins, the entire community, the entire city, the entire nation wins. But unfortunately, this is not the fact here in Haiti. So with that said, my prayer is whoever wants to come to help, because I think Haiti is part of a bigger picture. That's why I'm promoting and I am talking about, I think, the two things that need to be done. One is we need to have a national dialogue. Unfortunately, it has to be done either with this existing government or the international community have to call that out because the Haitian voice is not being heard. And the second thing is, if we want this country to move forward, it is time for the old politicians to take a break and so that they can give the country a chance to move forward. My approach can be a bit very radical. It's because I've been working for 7 years, nonstop, to see if we can bring stability in this country. But unfortunately, the politicians, the Haitian politicians, are actually not willing to give the country a chance.
And following up on what you just said, Dr. Balsi, if the gangs have taken over essentially most of the city, over 90% of the capital, what are the government heads really doing?
Nothing.
Okay. Well, that's candid of you. That's your candid opinion, sir. Well, I leave it there. And if I'm going to ask you this, though. I'm going to ask this one. I think people might be wondering, but I'll ask it. Is there evidence that gangs are getting support from any powerful individuals? who, of course, are not in any of the gangs. Dr. Volsi, would you like to take a chance and respond to that one?
Well, I am not aware and I have no proof of that. I like to communicate on things that I have knowledge of. However, my biggest question is how a group of men, mostly young men, sitting here in Port-au-Prince have access to that many, I mean, to that amount of resources when it comes to weapons.
Yes,
So
yes.
this is my biggest question, and I have no proof of that, where they're getting the help from. Uh, but I would doubt it that they don't have a stronger hand behind the whole movement.
Frederick Boirond, evidence that gangs are getting support from any powerful individuals?
Well, we can ask the UN, we can ask the United States, we can ask Canada. Canada sanctioned more than 30 people who are from the economic class or political class for their support to gangs. In fact, we have someone like Michel Martelly, who was the ex-president of Haiti, that was targeted by the UN in a report that says that he founded a gang named Base 257, Base 257, and he used his foundation to finance gangs. Gangs are
And this was proven in a tribunal, or it was an
this
allegation?
this was done by a group of experts from the UN in November 2022, and Canada sanctioned Michel Martelly for that. Not the UN, sorry, the United States did the same thing, but Canada sanctioned 30 people exactly for the same thing that they sanctioned Michel Martelly, and most of them were politicians and people from the business class in Haiti. I want to go back to something that Julio said. Not only these people who are leading Haiti right now, the group of 9 people that were put together to manage the country, not only that they are political enemies between themselves, they are political enemies, they are enemies of the Asian population. They are enemies of Haiti. They are enemies of democracy. They are enemies of human rights because they should know one thing. They should remember one thing. They were put there to bring back security in the country for the people of Haiti to be able to go to elections in November 2025. For the numbers that I just gave you, for what Julio told you yesterday and today about the situation in Haiti, there is no way we can have elections in Haiti in November 2025. Therefore, what's happening in Haiti is a sign of their failure. And if they were not the enemies of Haiti, if they were not there for their personal goals, they should have resigned long time ago.
And just for the benefit of the listeners, this 9-member group was put together by Haitians themselves with the support of CARICOM for the purpose of what? Frederick Boiron, would you like to just make that clear for the listeners?
To bring back security, there was only one thing that they had to do. Bring back security, control the gangs, so elections can be held, so we would have a legitimate government in Haiti. Not only, I'd like to remind you that there is nobody in this country right now that has been elected since 2022. There is nobody that is elected in Haiti. So what we're seeing now is nothing. It's not a democracy. It's nothing. It's something that was fabricated for a special situation, for unusual situation.
It's very unique and unusual situation, Frederick Boiron. I want to touch on something before we wrap today. I'm going to raise this with you, Dr. Volsi, because I think some person may be wondering about it, but may not want to raise the issue. Is there a spiritual element that we're all overlooking? We know that Haiti has been criticized, whether rightly or wrongly, for some of its religious practices or spiritual practices. Is it something that you think is irrelevant, Dr. Volsi, or do you think it is relevant to the situation in relation to the practice of voodoo and maybe other practices? Dr. Volsi?
I would not fingerprint and to a particular religion. However, yes, as a pastor, as a believer, I believe the Haitian, the Haiti problems, which I made mention of that on many interviews for the last 10, 15 years, are twofold. First is a spiritual issue, because how in the world that a man that given power to lead his own people chose to focus on personal gain instead of the well-being of his own people. It doesn't make any sense to me. So therefore, there's a heart problem, and I think that heart problem has to do with a spiritual issue. And then, of course, it's a leadership issue, because the politicians of Haiti, they don't understand what it means to be a leader. A leader, you are called, you have given resources that can be power, financial gain, for the betterment of people. But you can only figure that out when your heart is right. Because for me, is power and resources are tools you use to help those you love. So you are called to love your people. But unfortunately, in Haiti, politicians, they're using the people as tools so they can gain more of what they love. What they love are money and power. So it is a spiritual issue, just like it
And
is with the leadership.
not to take away from the spiritual element, but would you like to make a is Haiti also a drug transshipment point? Just so listeners can understand clearly, also a drug transshipment point for narcotics from South America, for instance, to the United States and other parts of the world. Dr. Bolton?
I don't have all the knowledge of that myself. I heard, in the news, but I don't have no, proof of that. However, I work with young folks, troubled young men and women who are heavily involved in drugs. And we don't, I don't think we make drugs in Haiti. They have to come from somewhere else.
Okay.
Maybe FedEx might have more to say on that. But Haiti is a
What I'm
Haiti
gonna
is an open border.
I'm going to go
Haiti.
back quickly to the
Okay.
spiritual element, and I raise it because in Jamaica there have been media reports in the past of some gang members doing some really horrific, looking things to, as it were, gain power. And they'll drink certain things and they'll do certain things and engage in certain things to empower themselves to commit evil. So I asked from that angle as well. So you're not aware of any reports, maybe in Haiti, Dr. Volsi, of gang members engaging in certain spiritual practices to,
No,
as it were, power themselves up to do these sorts of atrocities?
well, I mean, it's not only the gang members in Haiti. Since I've known of any political riots, it's always
Well,
started
the
with the
topic is
special
about gangs
ceremony.
this morning, Dr. Volsi. That's why I raised gangs.
No, no. What I'm saying is, when it comes to politics, every march or riots in the
So it's
country
for
always
so
started with a voodoo ceremony. So yes,
oh.
we saw that. I saw that on social media that
Can
gangs
you say that
members.
once again? Because you said it so quickly. Every what starts with a
I,
voodoo
I
ceremony?
said in Haiti, as far as I know, every political riot or every political march is always begun with a voodoo ceremony. And
Dr.
yes,
Volsi, we
on
are
social media.
completing. We have to leave it there, Dr. Volsi.
Okay.
Thank you for that comment at the end there. Dr. Volsi, we're totally out of time. Frederick Boiron, wish we could get another comment from you, but I'm seeing a signal. We literally have seconds left. Gentlemen, thank you for being with us in this part two. I did not know that certain things start with a voodoo ceremony in Haiti, but alas, you're our neighbors and we will pray for you. Sirs, Dr. Volsi and Frederick Boiron, thank you for your time and for your thoughts this morning on the Morning Watch.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
And thank you, listeners, for being with us. Join Reverend Dr. Dylan Toussaint next week as other issues of the day are looked at. And of course, visit the Love 101 FM YouTube channel and Facebook page, and now TikTok at Love 101 FM Jamaica for this and all other Love 101 FM programs. And of course, listen to the Morning Watch on our Love 101 app. Download it today and stay connected to the family station, Love 101 FM, the number one gospel station in Jamaica. This has been the Morning Watch. Thanks to our producer, Kathy Gale, and to our guests. I am Stokeley Marshall. Handing back to Love in the Morning with Trickle.